started.
Perfect.
So this coach started at part-time position at school that had 0 wins during the season. During his leadership, this year, men's team won its fourth consecutive River State Conference championship. So my name is Karina Yurchenko, and I'm the host of Sport Me Podcast. And our guest today is Coach Colin Dixon from NAIA School, Oakland City University in Indiana.
How we
Thank
doing?
you so much for joining. So to start off, let's talk a little bit about your background and how did you end up coaching tennis?
Sure. So it's a little bit weird actually. I played middle school tennis. I didn't even play high school. I
Okay.
didn't play college. I played middle school tennis at a school in around Indianapolis area. Um, I always stayed in love with tennis. I played in the intramural tennis tournament at the college that I went to, and we were always dominant in that. So I always still loved the game, but never really felt like I had the skill set to take it to the next level past middle school. Um, so I started actually working at Oakland City University as the director of student activities,
Oh,
and
wow.
the tennis job opened up as a part-time gig to coach both programs. And I was like, oh, you know what? I love tennis. They need a coach. I'll go
Mhm.
ahead and start doing that. And that was, 8 years ago when I started that. And then they made the transition that they wanted every coach to be full time. So I had to make a decision between full time tennis or staying on as director of student activities. In those first 3 years when I was doing both, my heart was really in tennis and
Mhm.
growing the program to the level that we are today. And so yeah, that's kind of I made that decision to go full time, and I've loved every second of it since then.
That's awesome. So, what were some of the initial challenges that you faced when you just became tennis coach?
Yeah, so originally the first thing that was very tough was being part time, and then having another position on campus that took up a lot of my time. So
Mhm.
when I first started, the director of student activities job was a very afternoon slash evening based job, which is priority practice time.
Mhm.
So multiple times I was running an intramural football game at the same time as I was trying to run a practice. And then as far as like recruiting went, I didn't know anything about recruiting or how to recruit or anything at that level. So I would be having practice, running an intramural sport, and leaving and trying to go recruit at the same time. So
Mhm.
trying to do all things during that kind of priority spot was probably my biggest challenge. And then also just trying to build a program like you said that had 0 wins. Um,
Yeah.
I don't like to lose, and I never have enjoyed losing. So coming in and getting my butt kicked from the beginning was very difficult. So that was a big challenge for me as well.
Mhm. And what would be the biggest lesson that you've learned since you became a full-time coach at Oakland City University?
So for me, the biggest and most, I guess, probably the hardest thing that I had to swallow was you don't have to only recruit good players to be a good program. I guess the lesson that I took away from it was create a family and the family atmosphere, and then you'll be able to you'll see your players grow in that
Mhm.
direction. Like I've always said it, if I have the opportunity to recruit, the best player in the state of Indiana, but they're not a family team person, I don't want them. I only want people that are dedicated to growing together as a family, and then also growing as a person. We try
Mhm.
and develop our players to be stronger men and women, um, rather than strong tennis players. Obviously, our goal is to increase their level of tennis, but at the end of the day, we're trying to get you to graduate here with a good degree, a good GPA, and then as a better human than you were when you first got here.
What are some of the ways that help you to make your players feel like they're part of the family?
If I had an answer to that, I would tell you. I think a lot of that comes from our leaders on the team, the guys that have been here for 3 years, 4 years. They just I have multiple guys that are going into their senior year next year that kind of set the tone, and they do a lot of that themselves. They don't let anybody kind of veer off course from being a family. I mean, that's what they wanted, and that's what we've always kind of stuck with. And so I think for me, it's just time together off court. And those guys do a lot of that kind of stuff. I have no issue with saying, hey, you guys go ahead and organize something, and I'll show up and I'll pay the bill. But I'm not there for that. I don't want to be the one in charge of that. And so a lot of that is just based on the guys that are here and their leadership and their ability to say, hey, you're kind of stepping away from the team a little bit. Come back. Let's go play mini golf and get you back into this. And they handle all that themselves. So it's fantastic.
That's awesome. I feel like, especially because tennis has been an individual sport throughout our whole life, it's so hard in the beginning to understand the actual value of these team bonding activities. And honestly, I feel like that's something that really thrives to success and helps be united and work together towards certain goals. So going a little bit more towards team and program, we already started to talk about it. Could you tell me some of the details? What you think is similar and different between NCAA and NAIA schools?
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know this, but when I first started here at Oakland City, we were NCAA Division II. In my third year, we made the transition to NAIA. So when I first started, it was actually very difficult. There were a lot of rules and regulations and recruiting things that we had to do, that we had to follow, that were very strict. And now being in NAIA, there's still similarities to that. I would say it's actually a little bit easier for me to recruit NAIA based on what the university provides. We are a small, very small institution with 500-600 students. So trying to compete at the NCAA D2 level was very tough. Being a small school with we only have 5 courts on campus, and so facility-wise was very difficult. We fit better with the NAIA anyways. I think at this point, though, if we were still D2, we would compete at this level. When we were D2, we were D2 independent, no conference. We always had the top D2 teams coming in and trying to play us because it was an easy D2 win for them. For us, I feel like the NAIA is a little bit more relaxed. It's more fun. The competition is very, very heavy. A lot of people look at the NAIA and they say, oh, it's like one step below D3 level-wise, and I don't agree with that. I think we would compete within the top 20 D2 schools as well. So level-wise is very similar. Outside of that, it's just a little bit more, in my words, I would say a little bit more paperwork that coaches have to complete to be at that level.
Interesting, because I feel like a lot of people are biased about NAIA schools, and as you mentioned before, everyone thinks that level of NAIA schools is not high enough for them. But based on my experience, there's so many NAIA schools out there that would easily beat low Division II schools. So that's good that you mentioned it. And
so last year we played. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Last year we played a top 15 D2 school when we were ranked, I think, 20th in the NAIA, and we beat them 5-2.
Oh wow!
They played their normal lineup. So I mean, I would say, in my opinion, the way I've always looked at it is like the top 25 D2 is probably very similar to the top 25 NAIA, but from 26 to 50, D2 is stronger than NAIA at that level. So I would say your top 25 is very similar in level, but after that, the D2 is probably deeper than what the NAIA is.
That's an interesting point. I've never thought about it from this perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we talked before, you came to school that had really bad record, and now it grew a lot. You became pretty successful in NAIA. What keeps you being motivated through ups and downs in your tennis season?
I mean, a lot of it is the players on the team. I mean, I don't go to war every single day like they go to war. And so let's say we come off of a loss, for me, I don't like losing. So I'm ready just to sit and think, what can I do? What did I do wrong? What changes could I have made? where the players are like, all right, let's go to work. Here's where I messed up. Here's where we messed up as a team. Let's go fix that. And so a lot of it is the players on the team, the men and women, they don't like losing so much that if we lose a match we shouldn't lose. They're out there on the court after the match, working on things that they want to do. So, for me, it's easy to stay motivated just because of the players on the team. That's their job is to come out and compete. And so for me, I'm just there to drive the bus, honestly. And so, the motivation is from them.
What do you think helps them to stay motivated?
I think that circles back to the family thing. They want to fight for each other. They don't look at, yes, they represent Oakland City University, but in the end of the day, they represent each other. And so when all else fails, they're on the court fighting for the person next to them. And so, they want to get each other better, because when we win as a team. We don't win as an individual. My one singles could win his match 6-0, 6-0, but everybody else loses, and that 6-0, 6-0 doesn't matter. And so they fight together as a family, and I think that's kind of what helps all of that come back together.
That's an awesome mindset. Do you think that's something that helped them, especially men's team, to be so successful and win 4 consecutive championships in a row? That's something that helped them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once we won the first one, which was 4 years ago. So actually, none of the guys that are on this team now were here for that first one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once we won that, we got really lucky in some recruiting. We landed probably 9 or 10 guys that are, the top 9, 10, 11 guys on the team still. So that kind of helped. And they've stuck around. They're all juniors. They've been here for 3 years now. They're going to stick around for their senior year. And I think that's kind of set the tone for the future.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell me a little bit more about this experience of winning very first championship? How did you feel? What made it special for you?
Yeah. So our first one was in 2021, I believe. Yeah, 2021. And I would say we were not the favorites to win the tournament. We were close. It was close between us and one other school. It came down to the wire. We won 4-2, and the experience with that was unbelievable. Maybe because we weren't expected to win, and we kind of went in with the mindset, hey, we got to come out and fight, and if we don't win, we're not expected to win. Some would say we got a little bit lucky. The number 3 singles player on the other team went down injured and then had to retire. And so that was one point that it was tough. It would have been a tough match. We very easily could have won that match, but it was going to be a tough one. It was one that we probably weren't expecting to take. So when we took that one, it was like, okay, we're feeling good now at this point. And then my number 1 singles dropped the first set, and he shouldn't have ever dropped the first set. It was just an incredible experience. Like the tears were flowing between my assistant and I. It had been a weird season. We had some of the players had gotten some trouble, had to be suspended for some matches, and so we never really knew what it was going to look like when it came to the end of the year. And so being able to take that and run with that and win that conference championship was everything that we could have ever imagined. Made for a great story for that first year.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like every single time you win conference championship now, it still feels the same, like you get the same level of excitement, or the first one is special and now it's kind of like, we got our job done,
Yeah. I would say for the players, it still feels good because it's new experiences for each one of them every single year. For me, I wish I could say that it felt the same as the first one. It doesn't. It's different. It's more of a, hey, we have to do this to get to the national tournament. And so that's kind of what our focus has shifted to is, hey, we have to win these matches here to get us to where we need to get to. We won every conference match on the guys' side 7-0 last year. Every girls' match was 7-0 except for one. We won 6-1. And we won 4-0 in both of the conference finals. So it's pretty routine, but it's still something that we have to complete. So, I mean, I think next year will be special because it will be 4 in a row for all of the guys that started as freshmen and made their way all the way to seniors.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should put them in like a Hall of Fame consideration for the university for 4 straight conference championships in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think for them, it still feels the same because it's a relief of, hey, all right, we've done our job. Now we get to go to the national tournament and do our job there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's similar.
What would you say is the proudest moment for you as sport coach?
Oh, geez, that's tough. I it's tough for me because it's probably something that's not tennis. It's seeing the teams come together year in and year out, uh, you know, putting their own egos aside and coming together and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not the loudest person. Maybe that's not how I play, but this match I'm going to because the team needs it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, my proudest moment as a coach is seeing individual players put their own ego aside and play for the team, rather than saying, "Hey, you know what? Hey, I won my match. I did my job." It's not about that. I mean, I've got a player on my team who's undefeated at the national tournament, never lost a match. He's 3-0 in singles, and I think 2-0 in doubles. But it never matters because when we lose as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And I try and recognize that to him, like, dude, hey, you are undefeated at the national tournament. You've won every match that you've played. And he's like, well, Coach, we didn't as a team, so my result doesn't matter. And those kind of moments make me so proud of what has been built here.
That's a great mindset. Like that's championship mindset, I think, like as a
Exactly. Yeah.
team, as
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's shift our gears a little bit more towards recruiting process and what matters to you. So my first question would be, whenever you see an email from the players, what stands out the most to you?
Um, for me, I look at every single recruiting email I get. I look at a lot of what I look for first, honestly, is how well is it written. How is the English? Because being a small private Christian school, we have tough admissions requirements as far as like Duolingo and TOEFL and those kind of things. And then secondly, I'm majorly I'm looking at budget. Being a small private Christian university, our tuition's $40,000 a year.
Mhm,
So I
right.
need to know if this person can fit into what we're trying to do. Um, and then as far as it goes for me, level doesn't really matter. I currently I just recently took over the women's program again. So this will
Mhm,
be my first year running the women's program again after being out of it for like 3 years. I have 26 guys on my men's team, and we have 13 girls on the women's team. So we run like a first team, second team. So everybody's playing matches. Everybody gets the experience of playing college level tennis.
mhm,
So I'm not really looking for anybody that wants to come be a part of a winning culture. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
mhm,
Somebody who's played on multiple teams before, not just individual tennis. I've only played, ITFs and these kind of tournaments. I'm looking for someone who's played a part of, maybe it's, played soccer, played basketball,
mhm,
played some other team sport, so they can understand that. But yeah, the first thing I'm looking at is how well is the email written, uh,
mhm.
and then I'm looking at budget for the second from there.
What are some of the most common mistakes that people do make whenever they try to reach out to you?
Gosh, I think that's a very tough question because you see mistakes throughout everything,
Yeah.
through every email, and it's a different mistake. I think for me, the one thing that really frustrates me is when you don't include a video, or when you don't include necessary information, like,
Mhm,
hey, I'm looking to do this, and here's this, but there's no budget, there's no GPA, there's no video, there's no, like, if I have to go do more work to research you, then
mhm,
your recruiting pitch right there from the start is not what I need. Um,
mhm,
a lot of players don't understand the amount of other players that are looking for scholarships. And so when it comes down to it, if you don't have a video, if you don't have information needed, well, I've got 500 other emails right here that do. So I think a lot of players think that, hey, I'm the best there is. Look at my results. Go research me. Well, if somebody else has put all that in their email already, here's my results, here's my video, here's my budget. Well, I'm going to take the one that has all the information there rather than the one that I have to go do a lot of work to do. Sometimes that affects me as a coach because maybe this person is really, really good. And if I were to go do my research, then yeah, I probably want to do that. But I think players sometimes think that coaches should go hard recruiting after them rather than the players should go after the program. A lot of times you'll see players that are like, hey, I see you guys are really good. I'm really good too. I could fit in well here. And they want me to go after them and recruit them hard, where a lot of coaches, I feel like in my point of view, should say, why should I recruit you? Why should you be a part of my team? Why should you be what do you have that what do you have that you can bring to our program? More like you have to recruit yourself to want to be a part of a solid team. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, completely. I understand, especially like I cannot imagine how many emails you get every day. Probably, it takes time for you to do all of the research. So obviously, if someone already put into work, you understand that okay, they actually want to be a part of this team, and their work ethic is good enough to put all of the stuff together. So I completely get your point. Do you prefer hearing from the players directly or through parents or agents? What's your preference for it?
It's nice to start with a player, especially a transfer, because then you're just knocking out the middleman. Hey, here's what it is right away. It's just me and the player. Agencies do a very good job. Some agencies do a very good job of handling a lot of the back end paperwork, the eligibility stuff, the admission stuff. So it's nice to work with an agency because they are able to do most of that stuff. So the player isn't asking a bunch of questions where the agency just locks it all up. I think my preference would be for a player to reach out directly and go from there. It kind of just cuts out the middleman. But I love working with agencies as well. I think agencies do a very good job of getting information that we need as coaches to be able to get their player signed.
And before we dive into our little game, is there anything else that you would like to share about you or about your team that maybe we didn't cover through last, 20 minutes?
I think we covered most of it. I think the one thing that kind of sets us apart as a coaching staff is we're a very player-led program. Like I said earlier, the main thing that I do is drive the van, get the players to where we need to get to, fill up their water bottles and those kind of things. I do have the tennis background, but a lot of times, what they need to work on, we're going to get done for them. We're here to support them. This is about the players. This isn't about me and my own personal ego or preference and anything like that. I gain nothing from if we don't win as a team. I gain nothing. I'm not worried about individual stuff. We're here to win as a team, and all that we do as a coaching staff is for the players, to get the players better and get them in championship form.
Awesome. Well, our last part of this podcast will be to play one word game. So basically, I'll give you a question and you try your best to answer it with one word. Now, if it's a little bit more, okay, but we'll take that, but do your best to answer in one word. So the first question would be, what's your favorite tennis player of all time?
Portrait.
Okay. What's your go-to pump-up song before a match?
Grinding.
What's your favorite post-match meal?
Chipotle.
Describe your coaching style in one word.
Flexible.
Name a team that you had the most memorable match against that you've coached.
Walsh.
And for the last one, describe your team in one word.
Family.
I expected you to say family. I was like, are you gonna say something else, or you stick with the family one? Well,
Yeah,
these were great answers.
I think that really does describe our team. I mean, I'm sure you'll hear that a lot from other coaches when you're doing this podcast series. I've coached like my first couple teams were not a family, and so like I wouldn't throw that word out there if I didn't feel like that they truly represent us. But yeah, that definitely represents this team.
That's awesome. These were great answers. And well, Coach Dixon, it was a pleasure to spend time with you. And you were my first guest for this podcast, so I really appreciate your quick reaction to my post on Facebook.
Yeah,
Your journey with Auckland City University and tennis program is truly inspiring. And for all the listeners, if you would like to learn more about Auckland City University, you will be able to find all the links and contact information below the video. So thank you so much for joining today.
yeah. Thank you for hosting it. Look forward to seeing the rest of them.